is a place, there is a moment, there is a feeling and escape from your ordinary way. There is a place, there is a time, there is a reason to make today an extraordinary day. Look what you're missing, look what you're missing. There's a world for you to see, paradise to set you free. Look what you're missing, look what you're missing. Come along, I'll take you there, an adventure we can share. There is a place.
So this time on Look What You're Missing, we're carrying our journey down the R62 towards Ladysmith. But before we get there, we're off to meet a local legend who owns a pub with a rather strange name and history. This is also where we go through a total scenery change. Up to now, we've been travelling through the very beautiful and fertile Trudeau Valley. We're about to enter the stark and arid plains of the Plain Karoo. But as you should all know by now, that's my favourite scenery of all.
What are you doing now?
Well, I'm just checking some times and distances to make sure that we really enjoy ourselves today. No long stints on the bike, plenty of stops, and I'm going to take you to meet someone very interesting.
Sure, the old man's embracing technology again. I think when he was my age, travellers were still using the compass and the sextant.
Well, not quite, Henk, but we do spend quite a bit of time exploring areas that we haven't been to before, and some of those are fairly remote. Now, while I always do some research before we leave using paper maps, electronic maps, Google Earth, that type of thing, a GPS navigation unit really is the most convenient solution for navigating unfamiliar areas.
Now, while we could quite literally fill a few episodes on how to use a GPS unit and the advantages thereof, unfortunately, we just don't have that kind of time. So we're going to give you a really brief overview of this very handy little device.
And I suppose the first thing we should mention is that there aren't really any cheap GPS units available today. So if you're more of a casual rider, you may get away with using something like your smartphone for navigation. But if you're a serious explorer and you spend a lot of time off the beaten path, a GPS navigation unit will more than pay for itself in terms of its functionality.
And these days there are dozens of dedicated motorcycle GPS units available that can also be used in your car, and some even have pedestrian mode to guide you when travelling by foot. And there are just as many options available for mounting and connecting them to your motorcycle.
A dedicated motorcycle GPS unit should have at least the following features. It must have a strong and rugged frame, it must have a large customized display for outdoor use, it must be totally dustproof and waterproof, and most importantly, it must be glove friendly. Now, some of today's GPS units can do some pretty amazing stuff. They can link your phone to your headset to the actual unit itself using Bluetooth technology. So you can make calls, listen to music, and listen to the turn-by-turn voice guidance from the unit itself. They can help you define things like fuel and accommodation using the information on the map set and even do travel calculations. Some of the top units on offer even have a tyre pressure sensor built into them.
Now, if you're intending to explore the lesser travelled roads of South Africa, it's a good idea to look for a unit that can be loaded with multiple maps. And that can also accommodate a map set called Tracks for Africa, which is packed with useful information for the self-drive explorer. And Tracks for Africa in fact covers the whole of the African continent.
Your chosen unit should also be routable and be able to accept pre-planned trips from a compatible mapping program like Basecamp. This is all going to make your adventure planning much more simpler.
Now, there are a few companies in the marketplace offering some quality product, so you'll have to do some homework to decide which model with which of the dozens of features available is best suited for your intended use. And you know what? Once you've done that, you can head out on your travels with just a little bit more peace of mind.
No journey down the Route 62 could be considered complete without a stop to meet Ronnie Price at Ronnie's Sex Shop, which has become something of an institution in this part of the world. What was initially a prank proves that sex sells, even if it's not in the context you might imagine. And today, people from all over the world stop here almost as a rite of passage at this small pub in the Karoo, approximately 26 kilometers from Berrydale.
It was all by accident. I came out here in '89, bought the farm, played on the farm for a while, but this was the broken down labourer's cottage, the building you're in now. Put Ronnie's shop on the wall. I was going to open a farm stall. As I said, stupid idea, 1 car a day, and that was my neighbours. That never happened. But the name Ronnie's shop was on the wall. And then about 2 years later, my friends added the sex one night. As a joke, I was not very happy about it, and I left it. So I had a broken down building with Ronnie's sex shop on the outside for about 7 years. And then people were stopping anyway, and we opened a bar for fun. And it took off from day one. We were drunk for months, maybe years. And yeah, it's been good. Now we've got a bar, a little shop selling Ronnie's sex shop, t-shirts, aprons, caps, stickers. And we've got a little kitchen, hamburgers, light meals, toasted salmons, and that sort of thing. It was a good life. I've had fun. Still having fun.
Not as good as now.
This is the easiest thing and the nicest thing in the world. Like you've died and gone to heaven, man. Everybody should do this. Gee, I have got no idea where the first one is, and I've got bags of these. It gets lower and lower, and then you prune it, and up we go again. Otherwise, you can't see the customers. You've got no rules, you can't break any rules, right? That's good, no? The ladies support us. It's got a nice little atmosphere. We don't really have a problem with women coming in by themselves, whereas there are other bars, ladies are reluctant to go in by themselves. But here, that's fine. What happens in Ronnie stays in Ronnie, so we don't talk out loud. It's a very tiny little world.
We have 2 towns in South Africa bearing this name, both named for Lady Johanna Maria des Los Dores de Leon Smith, the wife of Governor Sir Harry Smith, who was at the Cape from 1847 to 1854. The Western Cape town, spelt with an I, was founded in 1852.
Ladysmith lies nestled in the foothills of the Klein Swartberg mountain range, and towering above it is the very impressive Turverkop. Now, how that mountain got its name is a local legend. So the story goes that a witch was trying to fly home one night, but the mountain kept looming higher and higher above her, and eventually, in her anger and frustration, she lashed out at the mountain with her wand and split it in 2. But the story doesn't end there, because Mother Nature, to appease the witch and ease her journeys, created the 7 poorts that we know through the Klein Swartberg today. And the most famous of those are obviously the Maringspoort, the Huisrivier, and the Swartberg Pass.
The town, well known for its excellent cheese from 2 cheese factories, is surrounded by picturesque valleys and claims the Huisrivier as one of its main attractions. Within both the town itself and the surrounding area, you will find many different accommodation and eating out options, and there are many other activities on offer. You also cannot say you have visited Ladysmith unless you have spent some time with Gert Latergan and his unique collection of Ladysmith history. And if you are not enthralled by his collection, you are sure to be captivated by his stories. We left quite certain that we had just spent some time with the region's top entertainer, in fact. And as night falls, about halfway up Elandsburg, you should be able to see Stan se liggie, a bicycle lamp and dynamo being powered by a water stream.
And now we get to ride one of the most awesome pieces of road I can think of in this area, known as the Huisrivier Pass. In 2 words, simply fantastic. Fantastic mountain passes like this, whether they're dirt or tar, are like a drug to the system. You just cannot get enough. They feed your soul and all your senses as you travel up or down, or in fact, just through them.
As we've said time and time again in these programs, when the combination of pass and vistas is this good, well, it's actually quite dangerous because the views steal your eyes away from where they're supposed to be when you're behind the handlebars. Now, I'm the first guy that's going to argue that a motorcycle is the best way to see South Africa, but not always literally. When it gets this good, we want to stop, take it all in. When our eyes have had their fill, we can get back on the bikes and then we can concentrate and really enjoy the riding, the road, and in fact the pass itself, because that's after all why we're out here.
I kind of like this looking then riding, sort of doubles your pleasure in a way.
So you're saying you're twice as happy now?
What?
No, nothing, I'm just gathering information.
The earliest route from Ladysmith to Karoo was a kloof through the mountains called Caledon Kloof. But it was so rough that it became littered with broken wagon bits and skeletons of many oxen. and eventually all thoughts of a permanent road through here were discarded. In 1896, the two councils of Ladysmith and Karoo built a new road which followed the Huisrivier to some extent. The new road introduced various pioneering and engineering techniques, such as retaining concrete walls, which have a gap on the mountainside to trap any rocks that fall. Finally, in 1996, a modern highway was built through the Huisrivier Pass, and this is the one we can enjoy today. The name Huisrivier is descended from the Khoi word meaning willows.
There are not many tar roads that give me the same out there feeling as the dirt roads I've ridden. But this next stretch through the arid plains of the Kannaland comes pretty close.
As you know, I have a special love for these open plains, and these are particularly grand. You have the Klein Swartberg over there, the Langeberg in the distance over there, and all this beautiful nothingness in between. I've tried before in these programs to explain to you what it's like to be out here on these motorcycles, because you really are having all your senses tickled. But it's just so difficult to put into words. I suppose you at home might call it happy, but it really is so much more than that. What are you doing?
I thought we swap bikes for the next stretch to Oudtshoorn.
Not a chance, but
Come on.
no ways.
How about a challenge?
I'm always up for a challenge.
Cool. Rock, paper, scissors?
On 3.
Sucker. I wanted to swap bikes because from here the network of gravel roads and irresistible mountain passes are plentiful. And if I'm honest, I'd much rather get his bike full of dirt than I would mine. Besides, we're fairly close to Oudtshoorn now and he's already in cruise mode, so he won't even notice I'm gone. Actually, if I take the dirt, I might even get there before him.
I knew it. That's it. Get off. Oudtshoorn is that way. So while we ride to Oudtshoorn, let's have a look at something that the little Karoo town is very closely tied to. In fact, it probably owes its existence to it. And that's the ostrich feather, or rather the rise and the fall of the ostrich feather.
Ostrich farming started in South Africa during the early 1860s, when the use of prime ostrich feathers in ladies' clothing became high fashion in England and Europe, and you could get more money for 1 kilogram of feathers than 1 kilogram of gold. The resultant prosperity had an enormous effect on Oudtshoorn and its immediate environment, and with so much money available, the little town expanded rapidly. The ostrich farmers of Oudtshoorn were known as ostrich barons and vied with each other to display their wealth and possessions. They built magnificent palaces as homesteads, and several of these buildings can in fact still be seen in Oudtshoorn today as a reminder of the glory days. Very strangely, they were so busy making money from the export of the feathers that no one thought of using the meat nor the leather. Almost as suddenly as it started, the start of the First World War in 1914 and the invention of the automobile heralded the end of the boom, and the feathers went out of fashion almost overnight, causing most of the farmers to go bankrupt.
So even though there are literally hundreds of places to go and stay in Oudtshoorn, we always come and stay here at Kleinplaas because I just like the atmosphere here. In fact, in summer, when it's all full, it's got that real holiday camp feel about it.
And its location is also very nice, not too far away from the main hub of town where you can find all the restaurants and bars. But we can't be out too late tonight because tomorrow we've got an action-packed day planned visiting some of the awesome attractions in and around town. Looking especially forward to the Kango Wildlife Ranch and the Kango Caves. But maybe we should have allowed a bit more time to see everything we wanted to. But I suppose that's the beauty of these programs. You can learn from our mistakes.
And I'd be interested in going to see some of the ostrich palaces because I find the whole rags to riches and back to rags story very interesting. I mean, imagine that. A whole industry, thousands of people affected, hundreds bankrupted by the automobile, and more specifically, the open automobile, because the speed of the cars was no longer conducive to women wearing feathers on their hats and clothing.
They didn't even use the skin or the meat back then. And that is so strange considering how sought after those two products are today.
Nee, meneer.
Thank you.
I need it.
Oh yes, before I forget,
Yes.
before we get to all the stuff that you have planned tomorrow,
Yeah.
I need you up super early, because I have a rather unique experience planned for us.
Okay, cool.
And remember when you told me that I would feel right at home on the Roy Neck Pass?
Oh no.
Well, I have a feeling that in the morning, you are going to feel exactly the same way.
As we found out, you definitely need more than a day to see everything the ostrich capital of the world has to offer. Because the biggest bird in the world is just one of the many attractions available. And for the Look What You're Missing team, it was a day filled with only highlights. We learned all about the history of the town and the feather boom at the C.P. Nell Museum, the only museum with a synagogue inside. We then paid a short visit to the Leroux House, after which we visited the Arbeidsgenot, the home of C.J. Langenhoven, and saw the very desk on which the stem was written. After that, it was time to get back on the bikes for a few short trips out of town. First up was the underground ferry playground, that is the Kango Caves. We were guided through some of the finest dripstone caverns in the world, and we marveled at the vast halls and towering formations. This was followed by the Kango Wildlife Ranch, where we were happy to find out that it's not just a zoo. This facility conforms to the highest conservation and preservation ethics. In short, as far as the care of their animals, the quality of their facility, and the safety of their visitors go, few other places rival the Kango Wildlife Ranch. And we got to play with the cheetah cubs for a few uniquely wonderful minutes. A quick dash to the other side of town had us ending our day at the Safari Ostrich Ranch, where we got quite close up and personal with the birds. We also learnt about how and when the feathers are collected to be sent to the fashion houses of the world. Then we were also taken to see an authentic ostrich palace, a simply incredible building, especially considering when it was built. Now we have saved the best for last, but it wasn't the last place visited. In fact, our day started there as the sun rose, shining its light on us and warming our part of the world. We were visiting the Buffelsdrift Game Lodge to take Henk to meet the meerkats. But we ended up meeting three souls that will have a special place in our memories forever. After the extraordinary encounter with Braveheart and his meerkat family and a short game drive, we were taken to meet Jabari, Malaika and Bulelo, Buffelsdrift's three resident elephants. It's hard to imagine that something so huge could actually be so gentle. After feeding them, we played ball with them, danced with them, saluted with them, and before we left, we were rewarded with an elephant hug from each as a special goodbye and thank you. Henk and Warren will tell you that of all the things they have experienced during the making of this series, the moments spent in the company of these gentle giants will be those that linger the longest in their minds. In fact, it is very difficult to put this experience into words. A truly wondrous encounter. We will be back.
Wow man, what an awesome and interesting day. I still cannot believe we actually got to feed elephants today. But I still don't know, why was I supposed to feel so at home there?
Because I took you to meet all your meerkat brethren.
Meerkat? Why meerkat?
Because seriously, dude, sometimes when you ride your GS off-road, you look exactly like a meerkat.
That's very funny because that means you're a meerkat too.
No, I think everyone out there will remember I'm a Roy Neck, and there's no such thing as a Roy Neck meerkat.
Morning, morning.
Good morning.
So you're washing both bikes, right?
No, I'm just taking the worst of the bugs off this bike. But I have a feeling that in the not too distant future, you will be washing a whole lot of very dirty bikes. And while washing your bike may seem like the most simple thing in the world, there are in fact a few things that you do need to look out for. So let's have a look at something that we filmed when we visited with Shane Hoskins at Donford Motorrad in Cape Town, where he simply told us how to wash your motorcycle.
Hi, I'm Shane Hoskins and I'm from Donford Motorrad, Cape Town, and I'm going to show you how to wash your bike correctly. I believe position of the motorcycle is critical, either on a level surface or on a slight incline. The bikes must be facing forward. As a precautionary measure, you can place a strap through the main stand to the front wheel or side stand to the front wheel as shown. Before your initial wash, now's a good time to get personal with your baby. Check your fork seals for any signs of leaks, check your engine for any signs of leaks, have a look at your tires, check your brake pads and so forth. Wetting and washing of the motorcycle can be done with a normal garden hose or a high pressure cleaner. It is important that you mist the motorcycle and don't flood it with too much water. As a precautionary measure, you can place a rag into the air intake and the exhaust. Please be careful of areas such as your combination switches, your speedos, or general electrics. I use a good car shampoo, sponges and brushes. A degreaser is a good idea, but only if necessary. Where possible, wash in the shade as the sun dries out the bike very quickly and causes a lot of streaking. If you can, divide your bike into sections, starting with the fairing and bodywork and moving down to your wheels, engine and undercarriage. If you're happy with the wash, rinse your baby off. Old school drying consists of chamois and a lot of wringing, but nowadays there's commercial dryers available which make drying a pleasure and are better for your motorcycle. After the drying is done, you can maybe use a little bit of lube on your keyholes, foot pegs, brake pivots, etc. And then maybe take her for a spin, make sure that she's running properly and get the last bit of water out. Happy washing!
So despite our misgivings about not being able to ride our beloved gravel roads, I think this journey has still been very interesting, most enjoyable, and I for one have had a lot of fun. And you, Henk?
Well, I would have to say I didn't really miss the dirt as much as I thought I would initially.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to press you for an answer. The question was, did you enjoy yourself or not?
I'd have to say yes.
That's all I wanted to hear. And now it's time to start heading home. And once again, from here, there are so many options, so many more passes to ride, and so many more beautiful places to see. I was already thinking De Rist, Meyringspoort, Prince Albert.
No. We're already on the Robertson's Pass, so it's going to be Mossel Bay, Swellendam, and then the R60 home. But unfortunately, we just do not have enough time in 1 hour to fit it all in. So my advice, as always, would be get on your bike, get out here, and come and experience this for yourself.
Well, that's the best advice I've heard you give all year, Henk. But anyway, until next time,
Ride safe.
look after yourselves.
Look what you've been saying. Look what you've been saying. Come along, I'll take you there. An adventure we can share. There is a place. There is a moment. There is a feeling, an escape from